Well, hello, and welcome to Sports by Compion Meet the Ravens edition. I'm your host, Stephen Compion, of course, and we are starting this magnificent series off with the captain of the Rockford Ravens, the mighty Brit, the loud George, McHattie himself is here in the house to start off our Meet the Ravens interviews featuring Sports by Compion interviewing a bunch of Ravens, talking to them about rugby. George, how the hell are you today, sir?
I'm good. I'm good on this hot summer's day. Pretty boiling out there at the moment, isn't it?
It sure is a hot one.
Yeah, and playing rugby in this sort of weather is never that fun either. Especially for bigger guys. But
we got to go try out a little bit of that yesterday, doing some touch. It was lots of fun.
Was it fun?
Not really, no. I would not. I don't know if I'd describe that as fun. It was mostly very hot, and we were kind of out there.
Yeah, a little bit of temperature loss.
What? No, that couldn't have been the Rockford Ravens touch.
It was 93 degrees and sprinting up and down the field.
That doesn't sound like us at all. Anyway, so George, we're here to interview the Rockford Ravens, kind of get to know you guys, get to know the passion of rugby, of course, what brings you to the Ravens, why you stay with the Ravens. And as captain, what are your hopes and dreams for this team going into a very promising fall season? But let's start with basics. So, George, I don't know if you know this, but you're British.
Oh, shit, Sherlock.
Yeah, it leads me to believe that you may or may not have played rugby before coming to the U.S. Well, tell us about your rugby journey, please.
Rugby journey started actually when I got kicked out of America when I was 16. Landed in England, spent most of my between 11 and 16 in America. Oh, sorry, 16 and then, landed in England when I was 16. And, all my friend groups had started doing drugs and hanging out in wrong groups.
Yeah.
Full circle to what my boys are doing now, isn't it?
Hey, at least we're responsible about it, though.
Yeah, responsible-ish. But, just had no friends, and I thought, being a bigger guy, fuck it, what could I lose? And you fall in love with this sport when you start playing it. While you're playing it, you hate the idea of the sport. While you're practicing it, you hate the idea of the sport. But after the games, you love it. A real competitive edged sport. And never really got my talons in England. Obviously, I moved back to America, I believe, when I was 20. So 4 years in the sports through cult systems and that. No, it was real learning curve because.
Well, could you kind of describe? So, who was the first English team you played for? What was kind of the surrounding? What was that club like? How does it work? Because I know it's a whole different system for how they do rugby in the UK. So, I think some of our fans would be curious about that.
The club I played for was Rockford 100.
Wow, you just really like these Rockford.
Really
okay.
I believe they are over 100 years old, and they've been around the area for a long time, so they have fantastic youth programs. Youth rugby is safer than the shoulder cushion and bike helmet sports. American football.
Hey-o.
And it really is the best sport in the world because it incorporates the entirety of body sizes and genders and everything. You can be short and fat, that's a hooker. You can be skinny and fast, that's a winger. You can be tall and fat like me, that's a second row. It's huge, and you learn a lot, especially from older players. And older players are where the knowledge is and where you actually get the community from.
Did you, were you kind of hanging out with a lot of the older players at that club when you first were joining, a little young whippersnapper? Were you as loud as you are now?
No, well, in England, everybody's loud, So. But no, I started playing with, I believe it was the Rochford Old Boys, and fucking fantastic, The game, that sometimes the forwards would actually knock the ball on so they could have a breather, and get in for another scrum. Everything over here, the sport is so physical because one thing American football does bring, and all of the American sports brings, is athletic, big, physical guys that can tackle.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever said Americans can't tackle, but the structure of the game is where things get unlocked.
Yeah.
And we need to learn the structure of rugby and start loving the game.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. Do you remember your first try? Was it in England or was it before you got back over here?
My first try was just shit luck. I fly half. I was actually really fast back in the day. So when I say really fast, I was faster back in the day, I should say. And our fly half was a bit of a shit kicker, a bit like our fly half now, and shanked the kick. And I literally was chasing it because they would yell at you every time, chase the kick.
Sure.
And the other player went to catch it because he wasn't going to go into touch, fumbled it, and it just fell into my hands. And I just ran like 80 meters straight down the touchline to score the try. And I almost spiked the ball because I was so American.
Yeah.
Funny.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah, no, it's good stories.
That's a good first try.
Yeah, just shit luck. It's true, though, even in rugby, if you don't know what you're doing, you know how to run. And you should run and try and attempt tackles and run with the ball, not in one hand, in two hands.
Make mistakes at full speed, you're saying?
Yes, make mistakes at full speed. You only get injured in contact sports if you're going less than 100%, mental and physical 100%.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you get back to the States at 20 years old after a 4-year period in England, where I imagine you got some rugby in, but maybe not as much as you would have liked.
Not as much as I would have liked, no.
Okay. So who did you play for when you first got back?
Well, I met this team called the Rockford Ravens. And they were, funnily enough, my brother-in-law, Evan, was like, hey, instead of being a loser, why don't you go play rugby? And I was like, rugby's in America. And, yeah, I just learned that it was there and, I get along with people like a house on fire. So, was here. They obviously probably hated me because I was a dick. Arrogant.
You?
Yeah, an arrogant dick. Yeah, huge arrogant dick. Thought I knew everything. It's all fun and games until you get somebody that's a running back running at you, and then you soon fucking learn that you're not the biggest kid on the block, But and then I moved to I moved down to Texas for a while, played for Denton Rugby Club. They were Division 3, but one thing you learn being 6'3" and 260 pounds at the time, people in Texas are bigger than you. And you have to learn how to pass it real quick.
That's interesting. Some big boys down there.
Big boys in Texas. Huge mammoths.
Wow, interesting. So that was so how old were you down there? Probably 23, 25 or something like that?
Yeah, between those years, yeah.
What else is interesting is that when you first walked into that rugby club at 20 years old, I imagine you're playing with a lot of the young Ravens too. I say young Ravens, I mean the current Ravens who were young at the time.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine how like all those young, egos must have all combined, probably as well as they do nowadays.
Yeah, like oil and water. Who do I remember? First practice, I got to meet Dave Grinnell, which is a real interesting character. Hardly ever around nowadays. We miss his experience and how damn good the Grinnells are at rugby.
It's crazy.
Skip was at college at that time, so was Taylor. So Will Durling, the one that stuck around. Sydney.
Good old Sydney.
Big Sydney, one that stuck around. And I think that's about it.
Yeah, as far as like really long-term Ravens, that kind of makes sense.
Colonel, obviously.
Well, yeah, Colonel was there still.
And that is seriously, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, the 2 Ravens that I knew off the rip, which is,
That's pretty funny. Anyway, so then flashback. So, how long were you in Texas, and how long did you play down there for?
I believe I was down there 2 years, maybe a year to 2 years.
Were you starting during this time?
Yeah, I've never been a bench player playing for the Ravens, maybe.
Well, I mean, when you went down to Texas.
Yeah, no, yes, yeah, I started the first game. Obviously, I'm a person that loves to train and be around a competitive community. So every option I'll get, I'll be there. Not necessarily learning, but necessarily trying to get my name on that starting sheet. Because I always take starting as a player in any sport is a huge, huge for me. So,
Yeah, important.
Positions are there to be taken, and I just wish we had that depth in numbers now where, people are knocking on my door saying, look, old man, you're going to have to get better or I'm going to take your spot. And I'd love that,
Yeah.
That'd be huge.
I think we could all use that push for sure. But anyway, so you were starting down there in Texas, and you said you played for like 2-3 years.
1 to 2 years, yeah.
So then is this when I met you when you moved back to Rockford, 1920 or so?
Yeah, went to the Maoris.
Oh, you went back to the Mallory's at first.
Yes.
That would have been 18.
Yeah. Yes, played for the Maoris, the Fox Valley Maoris, for 3 years. Fantastic club, and you had to compete for positions, which is the whole reason why we're doing all of this, is because we need depth in numbers, and not begging. Nobody wants to beg for people to come play, but it is seriously an eye-opening sport because you get to play both sides of the ball. You get to smash people as long as it's not above the shoulder line. It might even be lower now. I tackle high, fuck it.
Just drop. Just make sure you drop at some point.
And you get to run people over or run around them, which and it's 80 minutes, and you play all 80 minutes, unlike you play 7 minutes with that other shitty sport you guys even put in our realm of sports, because one's played by athletes, the other's played by...
All right, just stop. I don't know where you're going with this, but you need to lay off the football. I think that's where you're headed. Anyway, so you played with Fox Valley Mallory's for a couple of years, like 2-3 years there. This was like 18, and you moved back to Rockford. Well, you always were in Rockford when you started rejoining the Ravens around 21, 20. Is that correct?
Yeah. And the Maoris, they dropped me for the playoffs games. I was pretty much their starting player, or you finisher, they used to call it, but second half sub. And then they dropped me for the playoff games, and I had a bit of taste in my mouth about it because I was there as one of the reserves, and they just never played me, and so I was like, yeah, fuck you guys, I'll go back to the Ravens, and I don't think I've not played a minute since
checked out.
Even with a sub, because it was being on the bench every now and again.
Yeah. So that's quite the transition. So come back to the Ravens in 2021. We had a couple new people coming back, some of the old guys you knew. And then here we are.
2021 was COVID, wasn't it?
It was like right after COVID.
Yeah.
I remember it was like we were kind of getting back onto our feet again.
We had so many numbers. We had like 40 players.
We did not. No. You're thinking all crazy.
30 players?
Also, no. I think you're vastly overestimating that number because that season we were pretty terrible.
Last year, spring season.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
Well, we were at 30 something. But anyway, so this last season has now fast forward to 3 or 4 years. You are now the captain of the Rockford Ravens.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the spring season and maybe some hopes and aspirations for this coming fall?
Spring season we won all our home games and lost all our away games. So we went 4-3, which on paper is a fantastic record, but we want to be, our match secretary, Skippy, he sets us up with some tough competition in the spring to get us ready for the full season. But yeah, this year, our away team just really wasn't firing. When we're on home field, we fight for what's ours, and I believe we dig deep in ourselves. But when we're traveling 3.5 hours up north in Wisconsin, nobody necessarily wants to do that and play and, get your head kicked in as well, because, nobody's saying rugby's not physical, because it most definitely is. Extremely physical sport.
For sure. Well, I would say those games were also, just no disrespect to the teams that are coming to play us, but the caliber of the teams we're playing away were much better. And so to be going on the road against a very good team, it makes it much more difficult, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had pretty good numbers, like on all of our away games.
Yeah, no, we really, really did. But Peoria, when you play at their home field, they're a stacked team. They are big, muscly, scary individuals running at you.
good way to describe them. Yeah.
Yeah, and nobody, and when you're in the last 20 minutes of a game between 60 and 80, nobody wants to make nobody wants to make a tackle on somebody that weighs 280 to 300 pounds. You know, I know I definitely don't. But
not when you're all tired and it's been a long day of tackling already.
Sweat's in your eyes, you're sunburned, and you're pretty miserable, dehydrated, looking for a beer, basically.
Plus, it's always demoralizing when you're losing by a lot, and unfortunately, those games weren't close.
Yeah.
But anyway, all that fun stuff aside, what do you think about this fall season, and what do the Ravens need to clean up? Can they make a push to finally get back to playoff relevance? It's the first time since 2012.
The skeptic in me is going to say it's going to be a seriously tough push because, you know, nobody's working, and this Division 3 rugby has become extremely competitive in the last 2 to 3 years. Nobody's really looking forward to the full season, and in my eyes, if you're not prepared for the game, then you're going to suffer in the game. And we need dogs, basically. We need people that are willing to put their head in dark places, and unless some people come back and say, look, I needed this time away and I'm ready to work for the full season, it's going to be a tough grind because the teams aren't soft. You know, Division 3 Carfu is by far one of the toughest Division 3 tournaments. You know, we're playing a lot of Chicago teams, and it's going to be a very tough grind if people aren't mentally ready for this tournament coming up. But I'll say this, and I'll say this till the day I die: the Rockford Ravens, on their day, can beat Division 2 and Division 1 teams. We did it last year. We beat Wisconsin Rugby Club. Still hate us for it. I don't know what the hell happened to them.
God bless them.
Don't know what happened to them after they left our field, but I was talking to them in the Chicago Select side after the matches, and they hate us. They hate us with a passion. And I don't know what we did to them, pissed in their oatmeal or something, but
couldn't have been us.
No, we're usually one of the better teams to play. You know, we're a social juggernaut. We always beat teams in the third half. You know, we always outdrink them. We always drink them dry, and we eat all their damn food.
Which is why some teams don't even give us food anymore. It's really sad, such as Mallory's.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. It's bang out of order. You should have seen the shit show I caused at that. I was like, bro, you didn't even buy us any beer. You're paying for my entire night out. We went to a bar that had $10 drinks, and that fucking quickly ended. I went home.
Oh man, that sounds like very appealing. Anyway, George, you did mention the select side. You got the pleasure of playing with, along with another Raven, new Raven, yeah. Curtis Joseph. So the two of you were on the select side for Illinois. Tell us about that, and congratulations.
The select side was like nothing I've ever played with before, because you essentially have 2 games and just as many practices to get ready for those 2 games. So essentially you're trying to do a jigsaw puzzle with 1,000 pieces in 5 minutes and trying to really hammer everything home. And, you know, you just got to worry about yourself and worry where your position is in the offense. It's sort of like a transition back to European rugby. Everybody knows what their job's to do. Everybody can trust one another out in and outside them. And it was fantastic ball. I just wish more Ravens went with me, because, you know, it would have been people would have learned so much from it. But it was fucking tough opposition, you know. The only time you would ever make meters on offense is with a penalty. So the other team had to mess up, you know, high tackle, hands in the ruck, you know, lying around the ruck. It's the only time people broke through the defense, which was
really
it was not the easiest thing in the world. But no, it was fantastic, and I can't wait to do it again if I get selected. But, you know, and Curtis, God bless him, he really played his heart out. You know, I think everybody walked away from it saying, I can play at this level. I'm happy to play at this level. These big Division 1 athletes are, they're just more. I don't even know because we smoked them. So they weren't bigger and stronger than us. They were just maybe at the right place, just down the road from the club, because everybody walked away saying, I can play this level and I'm happy to play this level.
Nice.
And it was really fun experience because
heck yeah,
it's just competition, the competition of the sport.
For sure. Well, what was one thing that you would say is a reason you're sticking with the Rockford Ravens, or have stayed for the years you have, come back, sort of made a life for yourself here with this team?
Yeah,
what do you think is something, married a Raven, what would you say is something special about this club?
This club is hands down, they're the best people, you can spend your time with. Stephen included. Stephen's a fantastic fella. First person to buy a beer, last one to get a beer bought for him. Taylor, Skip, they're all super friendly people. If you're looking for friends or looking for a competitive edge, because we're all athletes, no matter how much we drink and smoke, at the end of the day, we put our bodies on the line in this sport. We get that athlete logo on ourselves, and it's really nice to actually meet athletes that aren't so arrogant and stuck up, because that's one thing this team is arrogant, because I don't think Paul would allow us to be arrogant. No. Our coach is awesome.
I think it's hard to be arrogant in rugby in general, because you can be as arrogant as you want, and then come minute 23 when you're dead and out of breath, and somebody outruns you for a try.
Yeah.
Where's your pride then, man?
Yes. Or runs you over.
Right, yeah, just runs you, or you get the ball and you think you're about to do some hot shit and they fucking burnt you.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to be arrogant in rugby for sure.
It's a real, people think that, I've got big. The musclier people are, the more likely they are to injure themselves. No matter however long I've played rugby, the muscly juice head is the first to hurt himself. I'm not saying any of my players are juice heads, but I would like them to get tested every now and again. Fucking trust them. Don't trust it, but
hey, why do we gotta be tested? All right, dude, let them do their thing.
Yeah, maybe not my team.
Yeah. Preston, looking at you, bud.
Yeah, testosterone in the 900.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, definitely not on TRT. We're all buying it, Presto.
He's gonna watch this and be like,
he's not gonna watch it, but if he does, we're on to you, dude. No, you're not fooling anybody. I was playing with him at the Daddy's tournament a couple weeks ago, and everybody who was looking at him was just like, what is going on with this guy? Because he was wearing the Daddy's shirt and in the cup. Dude, he looks so fucking big.
You're fucking muscles for days. You're like, dude, behave.
And then he gets the ball at one point, and he's right on the sidelines, and the small guy is coming up to him, dude, and it was just like one of those things. Everybody knew it was coming, including the guy running up to him. He just gets this poor guy and just sends him. Like, I've never seen someone fly as far as this poor kid flew. That Preston just threw. And then he ran everybody else to the try zone, which is very impressive for a big boy such as himself. Pulled his hammy in the meantime, but it looked fucking cool. He pulled his hammy, but it looked fucking cool. Shout out Preston, dude. Anyway.
And also, that's so true. Everybody plays to their capabilities. And as soon as that whistle blows, the final whistle, all 23, because there's 15 on the field and 23, so you get 8 reserves. Everybody is best friends.
Yeah.
You could run over a bitch, and then 5 minutes later, the final whistle blows, and you will be like, yeah, mate, that was awesome. Well done. Thank you. Thank you for trying to tackle me. But,
for sure. I was talking shit to one of the gargoyles, and then right afterwards, I was like, having a beer with him and talking to him in front of this kid. This could happen. It absolutely happened. But yes, George, any final words you'd like to say to these fine people? I think we kind of covered everything about your miserable. Oh yeah, well,
miserable captaincy. Yeah, fucking right.
Stop. You do that. That part was fine. Well, we would be remiss if we didn't mention, of course, Kristen McHattie, the gem of your life, the one who makes rugby fun for you. So tell us about how you met her. Tell us about the rugby love that is
it's a funny
the McHattie
story, actually, bro. It's actually a funny story. We actually met at this fantastic co-ed rugby tournament that the Ravens hold. And I'm not just saying that to blow smoke up the Rockford Ravens' arse.
Although you should, because it is a great tournament.
It is. But this tournament is like none other in America. It's a co-ed tournament. Obviously, you can't. You're playing. If you're playing against females, they are fantastic tacklers. But there is a step up from competitive women's league to competitive men's league. We all know that. So there's rules and regulations. You can't run a woman over. You can't fucking obliterate them in the tackle. You'll get sent out and you just have to drink beer on the sidelines and be a prissy little bitch. But, we met at this tournament back, it must be, it's over 7 years, maybe 8 years now ago. And my wife is, she's short, but built like a brick shithouse. And she can run fast as fuck. And I was playing against her and I was like, I'm going to tackle this bird easy, I'm just tackling a woman. Little did I know that all knees are built the same. My head hit her knee, knocked myself out. And while I was laying on the floor dizzy, I said, I'm going to marry this bitch. To turn the full fucking circle, I did marry that bitch.
Oh, that's lovely.
and it was fantastic. She's a top class woman. She keeps me in check, which, is a standard to itself. But no, and she's a fantastic rugby player. She always beats herself up, thinks she's not good, but she really is. Women's rugby, if you're a woman watching this or listening to this, women's rugby is huge. It's fantastic, and it's a good way to get rid of some of your damn anger towards your husband. Doesn't work for me, but it might work for you guys.
And what other thing to mention about women's rugby is all those freaking scholarships up for fucking grabs, dude.
So fucking.
I was telling my niece, I'm like, listen, you're turning 8, so this isn't a concern for you right now. But you should pick up a rugby ball and get into this, because by the time you're going to be 17, you're going to realize soccer is a lot more competitive to get a scholarship. Tennis is a lot more competitive. Basketball more competitive. Rugby, not as competitive. No. Guess what? Still offering Division I scholarships for that shit, George.
Yeah. And Division I rugby players smoke you.
Dude, you could go to a great college, play rugby, form a sisterhood, if you will.
Yeah.
Hey, same goes for guys rugby. Like, it's not that competitive right now, compared to football or some shit. Hey man, scholarships up for grabs, George.
Either I'm getting older, and people are just looking the same, or as I'm getting older, people are getting fucking bigger. I swear, I was looking at some kids the other day. I was like, dude, this guy's the size of a mammoth. He was at the Sevens tournament. Size of a mammoth, runs like a damn running back.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm supposed to tackle you. Come on, this is Pops League.
It is crazy out there. Yeah, you're not wrong. There's some talented people who need to get out there and start playing. But yeah. So yes, to throw in there about Mrs. McHattie, absolutely phenomenal rugby player. Also second rower primarily, and one of the leaders.
Hooker.
Well, hooker. Fair enough.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, she's really good at hooking.
Oh yeah. I bet she is. Anyway, also one of the leaders of the female Ravens team. George, we've covered a lot of things, talked about a lot of things. Your Britanness, for one.
Yeah.
Your love for rugby, your love for the Ravens. Do you have any final words for these fine people?
It's the most. I seriously cannot. Everybody that I talk to that comes out and plays says that it's the funnest they've ever. It's funner than they expected it to be. Yes, it's an endurance warfare. Yes, your lungs are gonna hurt and your heart's gonna be pounding. But if you just give it a go, the community around, especially American rugby, other places is a little bit cliquier. But American rugby is the community. I believe the community is probably the best in the world.
It's really nice. It's very, very nice.
It's
easy to assimilate to just about anyone here.
Yeah, you could just mold into a team.
Yeah.
And you're accepted. If you're an arrogant person, you're accepted. If you're a little bit shy, you're accepted, and
we'll take anyone.
Yeah. One thing I will say about women's rugby is I actually believe it's one of the few American contact sports that they
Dude, I don't think there's anywhere else besides like lingerie league where there's women tackling each other.
You know, kids can't play lingerie, and colleges don't play lingerie league. So
obviously not.
You know, it's one of the few times where women can actually
tackle each other.
Yeah,
I don't really think there's anyone. Yeah, I mean, whatever. We're probably gonna look like two bros here. Yeah. But for real, like I don't know where else women are tackling each other. It's dope.
No. Seriously, I'm happy. It's the best sport that I've ever played, and I've played soccer. I did American football for a while. Hated it. You suck. Yeah, no, it's very true. Very true. You just can't. Sport is there for a reason. You know, it's to keep you alive longer and keep you paying taxes. You know, and you've got to get up and get doing stuff. And if rugby's not your outlet, there's other sports. But it's seriously a competitive outlet in America, and a lot of people need that competitive edge taken out of them. You know, a lot of people are full of piss and vinegar nowadays, and this sport will make you lose that piss and vinegar because there's nothing more humiliating than getting run over when you think you're going to make a good tackle. And we all love this sport, and we'll probably get old and die aching old men, and you know
we'll have stem cells. We'll be fine.
No, that's very true. We'll probably have new body parts.
Dude, there'll be like little robots, like they'll just inject into us. They'll like repair all of our shit. It's gonna be dope.
Exactly. But no, please give this sport a go because it's a sport that just keeps on giving. You know, you give rugby an inch and it'll take a damn mile, and that's just it. You know.
The beer will never taste better. The joints will never be nicer than when you get off that field those first couple minutes after the game.
Yeah. Especially sevens. Nothing's better than a cold beer after
sevens. It is nice. But anyway, fans, Ravens fans, Sports by Compian fans, thanks for tuning in. Thank you to George for joining us for another phenomenal episode. And we're going to interview a whole bunch of Ravens. You can get to know their backstories. You can get to know what makes them click and why this team is going places. Find out in the next episode. Once again, thanks, George. You know, it's real nice of you to show up.
Yes, sir.
Love you, buddy.